Which passport do you have?
I do have dual citizenship, so I am South African and Korean.
Do you speak Afrikaans?
Baya moi, which is like very good.
Braai or BBQ?
Ooh, braai, 100%. Like pop and chakalaka with a little bit of braai on the side, you have no idea. That hits hard.
Can you introduce your background?
My name is Heaven Kim. I am from South Africa and I'm South Korean and I'm living in the US right now.
You talked about, like being South African and like how did that work?
So my parents are Christian missionaries, so they met in a missionary trip, I think, in South Africa. Well, they met in Korea and then they decided to get married in South Africa and they just wanted to serve their mission there, so they decided to have me and my brothers there.
Which passport do you have?
I have a Korean passport, but I do have dual citizenship, so I am South African and Korean.
And which of your identity do you identify more with?
Oh my gosh, I always struggle with this question. I want to say South African because I've lived there all my life, but I feel like this trip specifically was like, let me reconnect with Korea and just kind of touch base with my roots, that kind of thing. But definitely South Africa, final answer. Yeah.
And how often do you come back to Korea?
So I have not been in Korea for maybe like 10 years. It's been a while. We used to come here maybe every 2 years because my mom had cancer. So we would do her treatment checkups here. But it's been a while. So it's been 10 years.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, is she okay now?
She is fully healed and serving down. So she is totally fine. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Why don't you come to Korea as often?
I think it's more of a thing of the reason we moved to the U.S. from South Africa was because my parents just kind of wanted a break from missionary work. And so it was kind of a thing of, let's go to America, let's focus on, me and my brothers going to school, graduating, all that kind of stuff. And I guess coming to Korea was something that we definitely wanted to do because we have family here. But I think it was also like, it's expensive, it's really expensive. It's like a 24-hour flight from America. We were like, maybe when we're older and we've graduated high school. And so now that we've all graduated, we're like, this is a perfect opportunity.
And when did you move to America?
I moved to America in 2019, so I was about 13, just entering high school, so.
How so?
Because it's like we've lived all our lives there, and then it's like, immediately into high school, new place, new culture, those kind of things. It was like I didn't know the social norms, so it was kind of nerve-wracking.
Which part of South Africa were you born in? Where did you grow up in?
So I was born in Pretoria, but I lived a small bit of my life when I was a kid in Midrand, and then we moved back to Pretoria.
So what was it like growing up as a kid in Pretoria and also like being Asian?
It was definitely interesting. I think one of the biggest cultural shocks going to the US was that people wouldn't stare at us. And I thought that was completely normal because I don't know if I lived in like an area where there wasn't a lot of diversity, because South Africa is actually called the Rainbow Nation because there's so many different people. But maybe it's because I was younger, but every single time me and my mom would go shopping, like grocery shopping, people would just stare at us. And I just thought, oh, that's what everyone goes through. That's totally normal. I wouldn't say that I faced like bullying in middle school or primary school because everyone just kind of teased each other. But you can imagine that the teasing was Asian jokes, that kind of thing. So it wasn't too bad, but it builds character. It definitely builds character.
What character did you build after experience something like that?
I think the reason I enjoy my job being a social media influencer is because I can kind of handle the jokes at my expense. It's like I went through that in middle school. You can't tell me something I haven't heard. Kind of built like a tougher skin. And it's just like, I feel like everything that I experienced as a kid just kind of built me into the person I am today, whether it's stronger or more like I can see more in people in that aspect. It's like, since I was surrounded by so much diversity, it's just like easier, I guess.
Do you speak Afrikaans?
I wish I could. In school, when you're in South Africa, you have to learn Afrikaans, but it's been a few years, so I wouldn't say it's that great. But if someone tells me like something basic, I would probably understand it.
Something basic like what?
Baya moi, which is like very good.
What? Like that sounds very American.
Baya moi?
Yeah. Like the way you actually like say it.
Really? Yeah, I could brush up on my accent, but
You speak Korean?
I do speak Korean. I wouldn't say I'm fluent, but I would say I'm trying my best.
한국에 살고 싶은 생각 있어요?
글쎄요. 저는 미국이 좋은지 한국을 좋은지 모르겠는데 둘 다 좋은 것 같은데 둘 다 나쁘고.
어떤 면에서?
좋은 거는 다 이렇게 가까우니까 어디 가고 싶으면 그냥 바로 앞에 있는 거, 그게 한국이잖아요. 그게 서울이잖아요. 근데 한국말도 어렵고 이제 오빠들도 한국말이 어렵고 그래서 그거도 조금 나쁜 것 같아요. 그리고 너무 더워요 여기 진짜.
아 그래요? DC는 덥진 않아요? 여름에?
이만큼은 안 더운 것 같은데요. 여기는 조금 humid, 저기는 조금 더워. So like nothing too bad.
막 그런 생각을 들진 않아요? 한 막 한국에 좀 한 뭐 1, 2년이라든가 아니면 뭐 3년 뭐 살아보고 싶은 뭐 그런 생각을 없나요?
생각은 당연히 있는 것 같아요. 이렇게 가족이 부모님이 여기에 살았고 태어났고 이제 다른 가족도 여기 사니까 그 생각이 당연히지. 이제 이번에는 여기 한국에 왔을 때 가족을 다 만났거든. 그래서거든요. 그래서 그게 조금 이게 가족이다라는 생각이 들었는데 1년 정도 살아보고 싶은데 글쎄 그게 할 수 있는지 모르죠.
그럼 지금 가고 싶은 대학교 뭐 정해졌나요?
저는 대학교 가기 싫은데 갈 겁니다. 이제 미국에 돌아가면 대학을 가고 마케팅 공부하고 싶어요. 지금 뭐 컨텐츠 크리에이션 하니까 그걸로 마케팅 하면 조금 더 도움이 될 것 같아서 마케팅을 해보고 싶어요. University of Maryland, hit me up, please.
What's one cultural clash you'd never forget?
I think it was definitely when I had to experience Korean culture, American culture, and South African culture all at once. Because I feel like it's all very different, even if people don't think so. Because I may have not lived in Korea, but just being here, it's like you can kind of feel the impact. It's like, oh, there's so many cultural norms that like you have to learn and you have to know. I think this is really random, but when I went to American high school, when I first moved to America, I was really surprised by like the way students act, if that makes sense, because at least the schools that I went to in South Africa, it's very like respect focused. Like you do not call your teacher anything but ma'am and sir, you have to greet adults, it's that kind of thing. And I did kind of go to, I don't want to say a strict high school in South Africa, but I went to a kind of like, you have to be respectful, like top tier, because I went to Pretoria Girls High School, which is like, if you know, you know, it's pretty strict. And so when I first came to America, I was like, wow, like students yell back at teachers, like students talk back to teachers, like all these things. And also just seeing like the dynamic between how American students in high school perceive just the high school experience. Like, I didn't know it was so college heavy, like focused on college, like you have to apply. Junior year is probably going to be your most stressful year. And also just like, I didn't know you were supposed to take up so many extracurriculums in high school in America. So that was definitely like, oh, I need to like get into that really quickly. Yeah.
Is Pretoria Girls School an international school?
It is not actually. I had a South African accent for many years. When I went to America, I was just like, people would be like, oh my gosh, you have an accent. And I got like super insecure. I was like, I do? Like, I don't think I do. And so I was like, you know what? I need to get on that and I need to get an American accent stat. But when I'm with like people that I've known in South Africa, or I'm on the phone with them, or I'm meeting them in person, I do code switch and I do speak in like a South African accent. It's just slightly British. It's like, not to offend anyone, but it's just slightly British when I do it.
What is the South African habits or slangs you've picked up that surprises most people?
It's not really hard to surprise people because I feel like the biggest surprise is just when I say I'm from South Africa. The amount of people I've met in college who think I'm lying or joking or like trolling when I say, oh, I'm from South Africa. Because I guess that's rare, question mark? Yeah. But besides that, I guess it was just when I had a South African accent, it would be kind of like, what is that accent? It's so exotic, question mark? Which interesting take. I feel like my, I guess like South Africanness doesn't like show when I'm like around people. I feel like it doesn't show like in person, it's more of the experience.
And what actually like, inspired the style that you actually like have today on your social media?
It's definitely, I don't think it's South African inspired, unfortunately. I would have loved for that. But I think it's definitely all credit to my brothers because I have 2 birth brothers, but I grew up with like brothers, like 5 of them. I was always the only girl and they all had impeccable fashion taste. Like I'm saying, we would go into the streets and people would compliment them. And I never really cared about style, even when I entered high school and I was like, oh, when I go to America, I won't have to wear a uniform. And I wore the same thing every single day, so it's like, But eventually I was like, this seems kind of fun. And my brother is actually studying to be a fashion designer. So I was like, this is kind of fun, I should try. And during quarantine, I experimented a lot. Like some people in high school thought I was a femboy because of the way I was experimenting, which interesting way to look at me. But I started experimenting definitely sophomore year of high school, and then it just kind of developed into this.
How do your parents feel about that?
It was definitely an interesting start. You know, first it was the hair dye. They're like, oh, you know, people do that when they're young. And then it was, hey mom, can I get a septum piercing? And I actually do all my piercings by myself. So it was an interesting conversation. It's actually kind of funny because I was like, hey mom, I want a septum. And she said, go ahead. And I went, really? Next day I came out with a septum piercing and she said, I only said yes because I thought you wouldn't do it. And I was like, well, and that's how we got here, so yeah.
What's one Korean tradition that your South African friends found weird?
They do not enjoy seaweed. They don't like miyeokguk, they don't like kim, because we would have a lot of cultural lunches. We had cultural events in primary school, and so we would all bring foods from our culture, and I would always bring japchae, miyeokguk, kim. They did not like aloe juice either, which you don't know peak, but definitely the food. They weren't super invested in the culture. They thought hanboks were pretty, that kind of thing, but the food they did not like very much.
Is there South African foods that you don't like as well?
Oh, I could never. I love South African food. Whenever me and my brothers talk about South Africa and visiting, it's because we love the food.
Braai or BBQ?
Ooh, braai. 100%. Like pop and chakalaka with a little bit of braai on the side, you have no idea. That hits hard.
How is it different from BBQ?
It really is about culture and just about taste. When I say, if you think you have a favorite food, you just haven't been to South Africa yet, I mean it.
What is something about Korea that South Africans would never guess?
I think Koreans would be very surprised by the diversity that South Africa has. I feel like all people are very surprised that it's quite literally called the Rainbow Nation. That's why the flag is kind of all colors. I feel like that would be most surprising because I guess people have this stereotype in their head, but really South Africa is there's so much diversity in food, people, and culture. I feel like that would be the cultural shock.
What's the best part of being of mixed identity?
Just being able to experience two cultures at once or multiple cultures at once. I think that gives kind of an interesting background and just an interesting conversation to have when you meet someone new.
What's the hardest part of being of mixed identity?
I think for a while it was kind of difficult to understand which side do I kind of vibe with more or feel most identified with. But I feel like after growing up and just being who I am now, I learned you don't have to choose, you can be both. And I feel like that's just the story of my life at this point.
What do you miss the most about South Africa?
I think I miss the food. I think I miss the people, the culture, the diversity. And I know America has a lot of diversity, but I think that's just what I resonate with the most, which is South Africa. I definitely miss the memories, the weather, perfect weather there, never cold, never hot. And I think it's just, I have a big sense of nostalgia and pride for being a South African, so I just miss that.
And what is one advice you'd give to other people that are of mixed identity?
You don't have to feel like you need to pick a side, or you don't have to feel like you're more one than another or none at all. I feel like your identity is for you only, and it doesn't matter what other people say because the word "your" is in your identity, so.